Welcome back to Minnie's Me in the Great Outdoors. I'm your host, Sean Baker. It's nice to be back here with you. Today, we will be doing necromancy. Now, I know it's a little bit late past the Halloween days, but that's okay. A little bit into November, I can't get it out of my blood, so come along with me and let's do some spookiness. All right, so here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with a bat and black. Going to get his cloak there done. And then we're also going to get the bottom half of the cloak done too. Now there's a separation between the cloak here and right there, and that's where the red's going to start. Well, the man wants some box art, so we're going to take it to that level. Well, attempt to. So it's going to be all this part over here, right? And then we're going to leave that upper line right above the tip that you can see where I'm painting around. Alrighty, so that's all the block areas covered. Alrighty, just at the bottom there, the middle, try to get in the best I could. Now there's anywhere I thought that'd be too white or I would see it or it'd be exposed. Try to hide it with black. I don't know if it'll work that well, but we'll see. Alright, I think it's gonna look nice because not too many people are gonna be looking up close, but I get my OCD. Yeah, so we got the bottom there, we got the boots, we got the top cloak, top here. I did the lines on the back because I want to do them between the red. We've got the red parts here that are going to happen next. Yeah, it's a good black base coat. Let's just let that dry for a little bit. We'll go back and we'll start some red. I'm going to do a corn red because I think it looks kind of the closest to the box art like my boy wants. I think it's going to look really nice on there. It's wicked looking. Yeah, that looks fantastic. Corn red is such a great color to mix with a bat and black. So if I get all that red done, we'll take a look and see how she looks. Alrighty, so just looking at all that, any little touch-ups you can see you can make on the way, but all that red looks good to me. So yeah, so far so good. Heavy metal on the way. One day. That looks fantastic. I love that corn red. It's so amazing. All right. So next we're up. I'm just gonna let this dry, and then up next we're gonna do some brown. All right. Now that we're back, what we're gonna do now is hit it up with a bit of brown. For the brown, I'm gonna start with dryad bark. We're gonna do the staff. We're going to hit up the book and the little leather strap that he's wearing. Let's try and get that first, just because I'm a local. And because you have your other colors out, you don't worry too much and make a mistake. I'm just being a little bit anal. So let's get that finished and we'll take a look at it when it's touched up, and then we'll move on to the next color. Okay, now that I got the staff painted brown, got the little satchel there painted brown, inside of the book and the straps and the handle there, the dagger, end of the book here, right? And now also I went ahead and did just a little bit of lead belcher on the blade, on the hilt, on the pommel, and there's a little nail up here in the skull pinning the paper to it, and also the little coin there. So that's all I've done for the lead belcher. There's not really much there on lead belcher at all. It's very quick. And that's it. So we're just gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna come back and get this guy's flesh and bones all done. All right. So what we're focusing on now is the bones. Okay, so what I've finished here is I've done the skulls, as you've seen, and the bones, the bottom bones, as best I can. What I did with the book pages, as I said, was pallid witch flesh. And I went ahead and did the cords here too, because I couldn't really decide on what to do for ropes. Just to kind of get a little bit of that look there. So now what I guess I'm going to do now is wash with an Agrax all over, and then kind of re-highlight a bit to make it look not so sloppy, and then get his awesome looking face done, and maybe a little bit of some effects on this. I'm gonna try out for the kid. I think he'll really like that, make it look all haunty and spooky. Let's go on here and show me how you do this. I'm still getting used to the shading. I'm not the pro at it, but I'm getting there. I tell you, one of these days I'm gonna be a shade master. Oh, I love Agrax. It's so good and blends with so well when you want some creepy, dirty, dungy, you know, a wicked vibe of dudes, yeah. Make sure it's not pooling into any areas. Like a little bit in there. It looks good there. I want some depth there, but I don't want it to be, you know, too, there we go. This is parts where I always get OCD where I'm like, oh, it looks, there's a gap there or such and such. And usually this is where those gaps fill in. And it just always comes together. Agrax is like the glue that binds us. I love Agrax. Yeah. Oh yeah, make those pages pop out now. Yeah, yeah. That collar pop. Oh yes, this is gonna be fantastic. Fantastic. So now I went ahead, I started up the rock art flesh. Trying to get around here, and I'm not worrying about hitting the hair or anything because I know it's part of the face, and I'm going to hit it with a more, hit it with black anyways. But luckily with the white, the Corax, before I realized how expensive cans were, it really helps with not having to put too many layers on if you're going to put on nice flesh tones and stuff. So what I've gone and went ahead and did, I did the rock art flesh on the seal. I also covered his face, his hand, his other hand here. Then what I did, Seraphim Sepia, and then this I did Reichland Fleshlight. So when I go back over, when you see me in the next part, you will see that that's it's part of the highlights. I'm going to highlight him and then do the head around. That way I can fix everything as I'm going along and doing it. Because right now, he's game ready. You could do the base and call it a day, but you know me, we like to go a little bit further every time we paint, right? Learn a few more little lessons. Every little bit, baby steps, getting there slowly. Sound like What About Bob? It's great. Love that movie. But yeah, so gonna let that dry. Then start all the cleanups and the highlights of like Corn Red, Abaddon Black, the Pallid Witch Flesh, all those highlights you'll see. Okay, now that it's dried, what we want to do is start the highlights. So this is my favorite part. Reason being because this is usually the part that I find a little bit frustrating for myself, or what I'm learning the most and how to make it look the best. Thank goodness for this neat fire lamp that everyone always recommends in videos, because it really, as you can see how nice the lighting is, it's really because of this light. Without this light I wouldn't be able to tell where these highlights are and stuff like that. And yeah, you can tell it's on the high rises here, but it can be a pain in the butt. Black, however, one of my favorites. You start with an Eshin Gray. Let me show you. Now, I've done this in other videos before and stuff like that. I don't know if I've covered. I'm pretty sure I covered Eshin Gray stuff. Watch this. You don't have to be some magnificent super painter. You can get an Eshin Gray and a Dawnstone on a black to look like you've been painting for 25 years. And it will make you feel good. Look at that already coming up. Because I did put on Agrax on this, as you saw before. So I was a little bit worried. I'm like, yeah, it looks kind of weird and muddy and ratty. But it should. He's a dirty necromancer. Let's just keep hitting that up like that. As you can see, how it starts highlighting. As if I was painting those lines hard. And I don't want to do that. I just want to... It's good enough to show that definition. Nothing fancy. Nothing crazy. This is a big shout out to Artis Opus. He's one of my favorites as far as dry brushing goes. He's probably my favorite dry brusher on the planet. He paints like a wizard, but just his dry brushing techniques really help me. It's what's helping me with my Warcry terrain and everything like that. Now that looks great, as you can compare it to the top, right? See, the top is just shiny. So let's do the top. Remember, you want to go against the folds, right? Try to avoid your red. Now if you hit the red, it's not too bad. We can highlight it, or not highlight it, sorry, but retouch it up with some Corn Red and Agrax if you really need to. Look at that. It's just like, oh, I'm definitely going to do this with my Goblins for D&D2 that I'm going to be working on soon. Because this is just, oh, dry brushing is a godsend. It's not the end-all be-all, but if you're not the best painter in the world, this will help you become a little bit, you know, more confident. You're like, oh, okay, see, I get it. And then you'll start learning how to highlight those lines, which is the part I feel like I'm at right now. Oh, I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna get the rest of this black dry brushed up, and once I'm finished, I'll come back and show you the final results, and then we'll work on the next color. Okay, so what I've done is the Dawnstone and Eshin Gray. I did a little bit of Dawnstone to highlight the tip. Obviously the hump of that shoulder, the tip, that's great. So yes, like I've said, I did that nice Eshin Gray and then the Dawnstone, and then I went to the staff, and I knew I was going to highlight it, so I think the best way to go with it, as you can see, would be a Gorthor Brown. It really popped all those veins. Another dry brush, very simple, very quick. Did it to the little satchel underneath there, and yeah. So now all that's left to do for clothing would be the cape. So this is where I usually find myself doing the hardest, or me struggling the most, because I'm so new at it. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm going to do what painting coach showed me in the video recently. I'm going to highlight the chunkiest parts of it. But what I'm looking for is these, the big folds, right? The uppermost edges. All these folds. I did not know before, but I'm learning more now. Every time, every video you watch. Don't just watch videos. I'm terrible for just watching a lot of videos and then finally doing it. And it's because I'm so into it. They're to me, it's addicting to watch. But really try, practice, emulate these videos, and you're really gonna get better quickly. Yeah, that looks awesome. And like I said, see, now I feel even more confident in hitting this. I hit his little fingy there, that's fine. We can go back with some rack art and cover that up. No problems. Don't ever freak about that. Now getting in tight. You see a pop. Look, it looks great already. I can see those folds popping. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, get these all done, come back and show you the final result. Okay, so now what we've gone ahead and done is highlight the corner red, and I want to step further and take it with an Evil Sun Scarlet just on the higher upper edges of the red cloak. And as you can see, it popped really nice. So now what we're going to work on now is the rack art flesh to finally highlight the face. Now always remember, this is where the stuff gets a little bit more focused, because this is where people notice the most. Oh yeah. Now if you hit the hair, no worries, because we're going to go back over that with a black. At least that's what I'm thinking, maybe a gray sear or something like that. Okay. Now that I feel like I finished that rack art nicely, I just put it on the bits of his fingers, got his arm there, and get it all covered, left the dark parts there, and yeah, it looks pretty good. His face is popping now. So what I like to do is I'm going to try a white on his eyes. Might not need to use a tinier brush on this, but I'm going to try and do a white dot on each eye. I'd also like to touch up the blade, a little bit of the book, and that's really about it. I mean, like, I can't see anything else in here. Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. My kid's gonna love this, I think. I'd also like to do a little bit of scribing on there for the first time on my first seal. And then after that, so I'll come back, show you how that looks all finished. And then we'll finalize it with a base and have a nice little B-roll look at it. Yeah. Coming out great. It's a little bit intimidated by this, but it's not too bad. It's really fun. One thing I would have said I would have liked to have done, I would have liked to have changed next time around, is leave him off the base and do that base there, because it was separate. And it's, yeah, next time I have textured bases like that, I'm definitely, like, I have one here for my kid. He has a Goliath Berserker, and because of this like wicked trash pile, I'll definitely end up spraying and priming and painting that first before I put this big mean giant on there. Yeah, they're pretty mean. Oof. Oof. Yeah, that's a little taste of Necromunda to come. But yeah, I like how this looks. I'm really happy with the result here. So like I said, I'm going to just do the final highlights on the browns, a little bit of metal. I'd like to maybe highlight that coin a little bit more. But I mean, nothing else. Like, it looks great. I would play with this all day long. Alrighty. So as you can see, what I did is a little bit of gray here in the eyes, a little bit on the skull, just a bit. Like literally, I just try to gray here, just kind of like stipple, just around like that, and then it was just a little bit of gray here. Then I wanted to see what kind of greens. I have so many greens because I went orc and goblin crazy when I first bought paints in the original start. So I remember my good friend Mike, and that's a big shout out to him because he was the GW manager that got me started in all this mayhem. Mike showed me one time moot green, and moot green, you thin this sucker down and like really nice, and just dab it in there, and look what happened. It's like a Tesseract glow without the technical paint. And let me tell you, that stuff is hard to mix up. So it was nice to use this moot green to see that pop out. I've never done that before, tried to attempt that. I'm sure he'll love that. I've never done OSL like that before. That attempt, and oh, wow. That's so cool. Really fun to do. I highly suggest attempting if you've never tried before. All right, so what we're gonna do next here is just a little bit of sterling mud right along the bottom here. Now you saw before, this was all done in dryad bark. Very easy to help it blend. I love sterling mud. Sterling battle mire I recently got because I was doing Creed bases, so I'm excited to use that a little bit more too. All right, so what we got here, some Tyrant Skull, and we're going to dry brush this. If you don't have this, I believe it's Creed Khaki. That's the closest because I find mine is kind of blobby. I've had to try and restore it, and it's a pain in the bum, but you do your best. I was putting in some Vallejo thinner to get this stuff a bit better, but those little dimples and pockets I made there, those are where I'm going to be putting the blood down. Alright, I'm going to finish that up, get a little bit more on there, then I'll come back and we'll put on some blood for the blood. Alright, now we're at one of the funnest parts ever. One of my favorite parts. Just before we finish that black rim, I call that mini done. Blood for the blood gun. Oh yeah. Oh. And we're just gonna dab in these pockets. Yeah. Drippy, drippy. And you can do a build up of it as it goes along and dries. Nothing too crazy. Maybe a little crazy. I love that. That stuff looks so great going on.